Today I'm going to show you how to do the chili con carne or the Bolognese recipe. This is in your booklets. It's in the middle. It's easy to find. I'm going to go through chopping up some ingredients first of all, and then a little later I will show you how to cook everything. Now the ingredients you need are on the back there. So it's these ones here. There are some optional ingredients. Okay, so you can adapt this and make it your own. So the first thing we're going to do is chop up my onion. So here's my onion. Now if this was in the ground, it would grow this way up, and this would be the root. So that would go downwards. Now this bit is the bit we're going to leave on. That's where all those enzymes are that make you cry, and also it will help to hold the onion together whilst we chop it. So turn it round. We're going to chop off this bit here. So I'm going to use my claw hold. I'm going to chop straight down, chop through the onion just like that. Okay, so move that to one side. Then, if you want to, you can take these roots off. They're fairly easy to remove. Just makes your chopping board a bit cleaner. Then I'm going to use my bridge hold. I'm going to use the bridge hold like this. So that's the way it'll look to me. And I'm going to chop straight downwards. Notice I'm chopping straight downwards like that. The flat bit, okay, is the bit I just chopped off. That rests down on the chopping board. So that comes apart like this. I'm just going to use half of my onion today. So I need to get rid of this brown skin. You can see all the different layers in our onion there. Get rid of this brown skin. Again, we're going to move that off to one side. It is always a good idea to keep your work surface and your work area as clean as possible. Just helps to minimize any chance of any accidents. Now, I want my onion to be in a medium sort of dice for this. So the way I'm going to do this is using my claw hold. I'm going to have my knife up against my fingers like this. So you can see this. Oops. You can see this from my view. I just tilt the camera around slightly. Might be able to see a little bit better what I'm doing. See, chopping up towards that root. When you get near the end, you might want to switch to a bridge hold. Just be extra specially careful just to get those last few out. Now, in the video I've shown you online, so move the camera back. In the video I've shown you online, what Gordon Ramsay does next is he slices through this way. Now that's if you want a really fine dice. In actual fact, we can get away with slicing it the way we just have. So notice it's all still stuck together at the top there. And I'm just going to turn it round 90 degrees and chop into a dice like that. So now you can see we've got a fine dice of onion. I'm going to move that to one side of my chopping board. Now the next thing we're going to do is chop up our pepper. So the pepper's next. So here's my pepper. Okay, I've got an orange pepper here today. You can see how some of it is a little bit green. That's absolutely fine. That's just the way peppers grow. They start off green, then they turn into beautiful shades of orange, then eventually you get to red like this. Okay, so they'll move through green to yellow. You can see the yellow there, and then gradually through orange into red. Now, this one hasn't got a stalk. If yours has got a stalk, you can chop it off. I'm going to put mine straight down onto the chopping board like that, and then I'm going to use my bridge hold again. Okay, my bridge hold looks like this. I'm going to cut through straight down the middle all the way to the bottom. Now, what I would normally do is let me pretend this is my bin, use a piece of kitchen paper. I would normally put down, and pull those seeds out. Okay, you can do that over the bin, but I don't really want to show you the inside of the bin, not particularly pleasant. To get any seeds left, you notice there's a few seeds left there, just tap It might come out. I think a couple came out there. That middle bit, that white bit, we can just pull them out. Okay, so that's our pepper ready to slice. Now the tip I've got for pepper is slice it from the inside. So I want to have my pieces of pepper about the same sort of size as the onion. So I'm going to cut strips. Again, I'm using that claw grip. Cut strips of my pepper like this. Okay. Then what I'm going to do is cut all of them together into a dice. Notice they're about the same size. My onion. I'm going to need more than that though. This recipe, I'll just chat to you about this recipe whilst I do this. I will remove this white bit because it doesn't look particularly pleasant, not for any other reason. So this recipe asks you to use about 250 grams minced beef. You can use just vegetables if you like. I find this recipe serves about 3 or 4 people quite happily. It will be adjusted obviously if you've got people with larger appetites or smaller appetites. Got a red pepper here as well. Now you might find that in your fridge you've got some ingredients that are left over. So I've got some pepper left over here. You use up this pepper. I'm going to chop around that white bit. Okay, I'm not going to use that. Try and always chop away from yourself or towards the chopping board if you can. Just going to get rid of that very end piece. Okay. Notice when I chop, I'm always chopping against my fingers. I'm using that claw grip and I'm making sure my thumb is out of the way. Definitely don't want any chopped fingers in my bolognese. Now I'm actually making a chili with mine today. So I've got some kidney beans. Okay, so kidney beans there, they're going to go in later. I'm also going to use some cumin in my chili. If you're making bolognese, however, they don't really go with a bolognese. So if you're making a bolognese, then you might prefer something like some Italian herbs. Okay. If you haven't got any Italian herbs, mixed herbs are more than sufficient. Or if you want to use fresh herbs, then you're looking for things like basil or oregano to go in there. Now I think that's plenty of pepper now. Okay. Now the next thing I'm going to do is chop up my mushrooms. So I'm just going to get some kitchen paper. Because what you'll find with mushrooms is because they grow on the soil, you'll find little bits of soil on them still, like this. Now, because mushrooms, quite a lot of water in mushrooms, not many calories in them, what you'll find is if you start to wash them, you'll wash away quite a lot of the flavour. So I find just give them a wipe with a bit of kitchen paper, takes away the soil or the dirt. Now, you'll notice today I'm using a white chopping board. Ideally, if we were in school, that's because I'm at home. I haven't got all the different chopping boards at home. A white one usually is used for dairy products. It's used for bread as well. So really, I should be using a brown one for my onions. Probably a brown one for the mushrooms as well, because they've got soil on them. And then it would be a green one for the peppers. To chop mushrooms then. So I've got rid of the soil. I'm going to use my bridge hold again. There's only 2 holds to remember. Bridge holds go right through the center. Then I've got that flat surface, so they're not going to roll around now. Same again. Slice mine. You can do yours much more slowly than me, so you get the hang of it. Go. Just a couple left to do. I like lots of mushrooms and lots of peppers in mine, as you might be able to see. Notice that when I take the mushrooms that stick to the knife, because sometimes ingredients will stick to your knife. Notice when I do that, I always push away from the blade. The blade's on this side. Oops. Always push away from that. Okay. Keep yourself nice and safe. Just got a little bit of pepper stuck to my finger. I haven't cut myself. Right. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to, just got to open my kitchen drawer. Might be a bit of noise. There we go. And find my garlic press. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to press some garlic. So here's my garlic. This is a garlic bulb. And this is one of the cloves that comes out of it. So it's a little bit like an orange with segments. So I'm going to use about 3 of those today. So what I'll do next is my garlic press, I can just put these straight in. Just give it a squeeze. Really difficult to show you this. Give it a squeeze. If you hold it at the end, then it's going to be easiest to come out of there. Use my knife to tap that onto my chopping board. So with mine, I've left the skin on. I need to remove that on my temporary bin. Now sometimes you need to peel them first. Now the easiest way to peel garlic, chop the ends off first. Chop each of the ends, and the papery peel off fairly easily, much more easily than if you didn't do that. Then you can pass them through there again. Again, scrape it off. Now, if you haven't got a garlic press, then you can just finely chop your garlic up. Try grating it. Let me show you chopping it. So peel it again. You can use your knife to help you peel it if you want to. Remember, always push your knife away from you. There we go. So you will find garlic, your fingers get quite sticky, so you will need to wash your hands after you've used it. So chop it up really small. So I'm going to slice it down the middle first. So you can do each piece individually if you like, because it will slip and slide. This is where your precision skills come in. So same as the onion and the pepper, chopped it into strips first. Turn them around. Chop them into tiny, tiny pieces like this. Okay. Notice that looks very similar to what we've got with the garlic press. So you can still put some garlic in, even if you don't have a press. Just be really careful with the last bit because it is really small. And then remember to push away from yourself. There you go. So now I've got everything ready and chopped up. The only things I've got left to do are to open my tin of kidney beans and open my chopped tomatoes. So I'll do that and I'll show you what to do with cooking next. Okay, so now we're going to start cooking. I've got everything ready by the cooker. I'm going to start with a little bit of spray oil. You can use ordinary oil, so some vegetable oil, but I'm just going to use some spray oil to keep it nice and healthy. Okay, not too much fat. So each one of those sprays is about 1 calorie. So it's a lot less than if I was to use a tablespoon. So I've turned on my flame. Make sure you do that really carefully. Ask a grown-up to help if you think you need it. If you're not sure how yours turns on, always make sure you ask before you use the oven or the hob. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to put in there is my onion. So I'm using a wooden spatula to push everything off my chopping board. That is going to start to cook. So my onions have just started to turn brown, started to go clear. You want to catch it just as they're starting to do that. I've got my mince in now. And you can see that the mince is red to start with. Now don't forget, whenever you handle raw meat, you need to wash your hands. So I'm just going to go and do that now. You might be able to hear the water running. Nice hot water, some soap. You can sing happy birthday if you like while you're washing your hands. Okay, make sure you get them nice and clean. dry them. Once you've done that, you can keep moving the mince around. Now what you're looking for is you're looking for the mince to turn brown. So mine started to turn brown. You see some of it's brown, some of it isn't. Keep it moving. You don't want it to get stuck to the bottom of your pan. You want to keep it moving. Now just while our mince is browning, what I've got here, this pan, it's a large pan. It's called a saute pan technically, but you can use a wok, you can use a large saucepan if you wanted to. Just something that gives you space to cook. Okay, notice a lot of my mince has turned brown there. I know the light's not great on here. You notice there's still some red parts, so I'm going to move them around in my pan to try and cook those so they're on the bottom. It's easier if you've got a larger pan to be able to do that. Okay, so my mince has all turned brown now. Notice it looks different. So the next thing that is going to go into my pan is, oh, that bit's not quite ready there. So the next bit that's going to go into my pan, I'm going to add some flavourings. So I'm going to put some cumin in next. Now, I would recommend you put about a tablespoon of cumin in. I know I like quite a bit more than that, and I've done this quite a lot of times. So I'm going to put in about that much. Now, don't forget that is just for chili con carne. If you were going to be making some Bolognese, it would be the Italian herbs that you'll be putting in there, okay, or some mixed herbs. Right, so the next thing that goes in, I'm going to pop that was my garlic that's gone in, and then I'm going to put my pepper in, and I'm going to put my mushrooms in as well, why not? So that's now everything off my chopping board has gone in. Now because I put some cumin in there, it would be really helpful if I could put some water in. Now you can use, at home, you can use whatever you've got in your kitchen to put some water in. I usually use the kettle. There's usually water in there, but for now I'm just going to use this glass. So I'm going to pour some water in. Not very much. That's because I don't like using very much oil in mine. So we're just going to fry off the peppers and the mushrooms just for a minute or two. I'm also going to add a stock cube. Okay, so you get one of these little cubes. Okay, now usually you would mix these with water, but I don't want my mixture being that runny. So I'm going to open this cube and sprinkle it in. Now you might find you need to add a little bit more water. So I've got a little bit left in my glass. Now because I'm not adding very much, it can be cold water because it soon heats up with my large pan. So my chili con carne is starting to take shape. I'm just waiting for those mushrooms to soften slightly. Now the recipe in your booklet does say to use some flour. Now don't worry if you haven't got any flour. You only need that to thicken up your mixture at the end. So there we go. I think that's nice and soft now. I'm going to add the chopped tomatoes next. I don't know if you can see those. So I opened these earlier. So pour in your chopped tomatoes. Give those a good mix. Now your chili con carne, I added cumin to my flavour You could add some fresh chilies if you wanted it a little bit spicy. The cumin really just adds flavour. It doesn't really add very much in the way of spice, mainly just flavour. Now the one thing it is missing is some kidney beans. They're going in next. Now with the kidney beans, they're in a tin. It's a good idea to rinse them first. Now they might stick to the bottom a little bit. Try and resist the urge to put your fingers in and pull them out, because you might find that you cut yourself on any sharp edges that are left on your tin. There's my kidney beans. I'm going to give that a stir. So your bolognese, you would probably serve it with some spaghetti, or you might put it on a jacket potato. You might have some garlic bread with it. Your chilli, similar, you might serve it with rice though rather than pasta. You could have it on a jacket potato, or you could do what I'm doing tonight, and you could make yourself some nachos. So the last thing left to do, I'm going to leave that to simmer for a few minutes. So that just means I'm going to turn it down, and you can just see just bubbling away nice and slowly. Leave that for 5 or 10 minutes to bubble away. Once it gets to that stage, I'm going to then add some tomato puree. So this is just out of a tube. You can also get it in some small tins. So I'm going to add a small amount of this, about a tablespoon or so, just to thicken it up slightly, and then if it needs it, a little bit of flour. However, if I leave this to simmer, what will happen is that extra water will just evaporate off the top there. You can also add some fresh herbs, so a chili. You might want to add some fresh coriander. If you're making a bolognese, you might want to add some fresh basil or some fresh oregano. So that is our bolognese or our chili. I'm not going to leave that. I'm going to leave that to simmer, so I'm going to stop the recording now. Good luck. Hope you have a go.